So here's the thing. Nobody, and I mean nobody, really warned us about this.
Yeah, it's true. We are both called by Jesus to serve him, but nobody told us the cost of what it would be to actually be called into ministry. So we want to talk about it right here.
We're Josh and Heather, and we're so glad you've joined us. You've got a seat at our table. You're a Jesus follower, you're a ministry leader, or you're just a couple who love each other and are growing together.
Yeah, that's right. This podcast is for you, and we're excited about talking about this topic specifically. But before we do, we have to jump into the most important element of what we do every time, and that is coffee mug time. Heather, what coffee mug did you select for the beginning of our episode today?
I swiped one. This is actually not my mug. It is Scarlett's. It's got beautiful little aesthetic. She's our aesthetic child. It's got green flowers, green bird, all the different things there. It's just lovely, and it makes me feel so calm and serene.
Springtime, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely got those vibes of everything is as it should be and in order.
My coffee mug is Lady Libertad, the Lady Liberty from the Louvre. And Heather and I had a chance to visit the Louvre a couple years ago with the kids, and I bought this as my souvenir to remind ourselves of the importance of freedom and the French
Revolution. Like, we're at odds today. I'm like serene and at peace.
And I'm ready to go to war.
You're ready to fight.
Ready to fight.
Grit and grace, I'm telling you.
Bring down the proletariat. Yes, this is what we're willing to do. But today, remember, coffee mug time is not just about drinking coffee. It's also about, we select a specific question. Yeah. And we don't know what this question is going to be, but we have to answer it. It comes from our jar.
Are you ready? And by the way, this is our only cookie jar, and I was scolded by our daughter the other night. She's like, why did you use our one cookie jar? Like, we have cookies that often. Seriously.
I wonder if she's taken it down and looked at any of the questions. She's like, that's just still stupid what mom and dad do.
I don't think so, because she likes questions.
If you're new to Josh and Heather, you need to understand we have 3 children. We only have one left at home. So one lives in Colorado. He's adult and married. The other lives in Florida. She's in college. And our third child lives at home. She's a junior in high school. And that poor child gets everything she wants.
Okay, so here's today's question. Answer it with whoever you are listening with.
Oh.
Josh, who is most likely to forget why they walked into a room?
You. You are more likely to forget why you walked into a room. Maybe 6 months ago. Now it's me.
I don't know. I think it's still me.
Yeah?
I think it's still me because...
Okay. That's a rough question.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I will pause, and within usually 5 to 7 seconds, I'll get it.
Yeah.
How long does it take you?
What was the question?
There's our answer.
Okay.
It's not who loses their phone the most. We know that one.
Yes. I've lost my phone on multiple occasions, and it's often stereotypically in my hand or my pocket.
Misplaced, yeah.
Right.
That's the worst. Okay, you youngsters out there, here's a free one. That's the worst thing ever is where you do look for your phone and it's in your hand or your pocket.
Yeah.
I've literally done that now, and I thought, how do people do that?
Yeah.
It's like the old people with the glasses on their heads. That's the next phase coming. I can feel it.
Yeah, that's the moment you need to start realizing you can go to Ross and get that discount, right? Like, you're getting close to elderly at that point. At this point, you probably need to sign up for AARP. At this point, you need to think about going on a cruise with Josh and Heather. You're getting older. Look, if you are interested in travel and you're interested in the Holy Land, maybe you need to consider coming to the Israel Tour 2027 with Josh and Heather. You can go to our website and find out all about it. It's February, I believe 9th through the 19th, but the website itself will have all that information. So if you've never traveled to the Holy Land and would like to, you can travel directly with us. These are real us, by the way, not impersonators, not individuals who
like, are we Saddam Hussein? Like, what is that?
Well, like because we're so well known, we're famous, and we do so important.
We do travel with our own security detail.
That's right. So. That's right. From our security team at church that follows me around. They've got their little earpieces.
Who are we kidding? I am the security detail.
Yeah.
I'm dangerous. You don't
She
even
is. You
know.
need to register your hands. This conversation went off the rails. But
Yeah.
if you want more conversations that go off the rails, come to Israel with us in 2027.
You know what else has gone off the rails?
What?
Ministry life.
Ministry has gone off the rails.
Yeah.
Great segue, Heather.
Now, to be fair,
We love our calling, but we love our calling, but it costs more than we expected.
now I have to kind of already have a retraction. Okay. People, I think, did try to tell us.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I started in ministry, I would read, like, I'd be given ministry books, most of them very old, and they were very sad. It talked about all the awful things. And I remember just being so discouraged and thinking, what in the world? And I remember thinking, oh, that's just not like, not that we would have a perfect life. I'm like, yeah, we're not really going to have pain and all this stuff. And, you know, we're not international missionaries. You know, we got a cakewalk here. And I've been surprised. And I guess I should have heeded the warnings that it was going to cost us something. Following Jesus as he called us, as he has led us, has cost us. How has it cost us, Josh?
It's cost us in a lot of ways. It's cost us financially, early on, especially. It's cost us relationally. Not everybody is ready to continue to follow Jesus. It's cost us, time. It's cost us sleep. There have been many countless sleepless nights. It's cost us tears. There's no way to follow the man of sorrows who is acquainted with grief without understanding what it is to be a person of sorrow, to be a person of grief. It's cost us in a lot of ways that we'll be able to discuss today. And so we want you to not question your calling, not in any way, but we do want you to be comforted by the idea that to follow Christ truly as a disciple always has a cost to it. And the cost of discipleship is very real. And we want to ask you to consider to count the cost, not just of following Christ, but to follow Christ specifically into ministry. Now, this podcast could go one of two ways. We could have discussed what it means to be a follower of Christ and the natural cost of the world and the natural cost in this world to follow Jesus Christ. But instead, we want to focus specifically on what it is to be called by Christ into ministry. What it costs to say, no matter what you're asking me to do, I'm going to do. Let's talk about those costs. Heather, why don't you begin to detail first, what would you say is a cost for you or for us or for our family that you say, this was a cost, but this is how it was worthwhile in the end?
Well, one that comes to mind that I never expected was relationships we would lose. That one's been a deep cut, if I'm being real honest, and a deep shock, because I've watched people in church have to go through that. You know, they get saved, they start following Christ, their family are not believers, their family may believe in something totally different, some false god, whatever, and they will actually cut them out of their family, cut them off completely. And I'm like, well, we're from Christian homes. We're doing the work that, we're fighting for the same kingdom that these other ministers are. So I think it was shocking to me, not so shocking. It was a little surprising when we had, criticism from the outside, but what's been shocking is how the enemy will get within the ranks.
Well, let's talk about
within deep relationships.
Let's talk about
that you
both
never
those.
see coming.
Yeah, let's talk about both of those. Let's talk about the first one of shots from the outside. One of the things we experienced, and I'm not sure what your experience will be, but as you give your life to Jesus Christ, and then if God calls you into ministry, that means into pastoral work or into preaching or into missionary work of some kind, if into some sort of service within a church staff, that type of thing. If that happens for you, the first thing that you'll often feel is the congratulations of those around you. Wow, you're going to follow Jesus. You're going to do the greatest. You're going to be the best ever. And that is incredibly validating. It's like the other disciples of Jesus gathering around you, and you're like the new guy. You're an unknown. You're like Thaddeus, right? And they're like, "Welcome, Thaddeus," and they gather around you and hug you, and it feels great. And then you go out on mission Matthew chapter 10, and you're sent out with your partner to do what Jesus told you to do. And then you come back and report to the other disciples, this is what I did for Jesus. And they begin to critique your ministry for Jesus.
Hey, that's not like when they didn't, that's not recorded in scripture. The disciples' responses to each other when they came back.
No, that would be awesome though, and very
'Cause
relatable
I've
if it
never
was.
thought about that, where Jesus sent them out 2 by 2,
Matthew 10.
and then they come back.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to really, it's amazing how many times you go through the Bible and miss something entirely, just starting to sit in that.
It wasn't in the Bible,
I've never thought about that.
It wasn't in the Bible, but it was in The Chosen. So thank you.
This way.
Dallas Jenkins helped us out with
You
that.
should have done it this way. You should have said this, or we had this.
Yeah, and I think that what is surprising, and I think that was costly. It's difficult. Now we've been following Jesus and serving Christ long enough to realize we've actually been on both sides of this now. We have sent out disciples who go and minister amazingly, and sometimes we'll find ourselves sitting back and being like, why did they do it that way? And then even feeling bold enough to be able to ask, why would you do that? And opening up those conversations. So life has a way of repeating itself, but that was a big cost, and not just to the point of awkward conversations. So with pastors, mentors, coaches, but to the point of being cut off. These were costs, and shocking costs.
And I'll speak to this, especially as a wife, because I'm honestly not the one that usually gets fired at from the outside, because I'm so lovable, first of all. No, seriously, this is a guy that takes the shots. Now, what I will say, if you're a pastor's wife, okay, here's what will happen. You may have more people in the church that don't like you, because I find if they don't like him, they'll leave. But if they like him, they might not like me. But from the outside, most people, they're not saying things about me. That might change. I better watch my step here. But I've been asked before, well, how do you handle that? Because he's taken over the years a lot of heat as he's followed the Lord. And it's funny because he'll get sometimes a little praise and encouragement, like behind the scenes in an email, but not like on the forefront. And but that never bothered me. And if that happens to you or your spouse, don't let it bother you. Here's what you've got to realize. First of all, with whether inside or outside, these attacks truly are from the enemy. It's just the enemy trying to keep us from being unified, trying to stir up problems. And then secondly, there should be pity. And that's thankfully what I naturally, by the grace of God, felt with people from the outside, because I would look at these men that were so angry and saying things that like a fourth grader would say. I would read, or I usually didn't even read the comments, but if I ever came across them or heard the statements, we would often laugh about them. I don't know if they bothered you. We'll talk about that in a minute. But for me, they were just so stupid. And I remember then feeling pity, especially for their wives, because I know how anger and bitterness works. There's no way it's just being projected on us and not being brought into that home. And I remember it would actually move me very often to pray. And that makes me sound holier than I am. It was a quick prayer, but pray nonetheless, because I remember thinking, I'm so glad I'm not their wife. Bless their hearts. What about you? You've been shot at a lot from the outside. Did it usually bother you?
Yeah, I think what you said, I mean, of course, it always hurts at first until you realize exactly what you said. These are not individuals that are attacking you. It's a spiritual war, right? So the Bible tells us you cannot be a follower of Christ and Belial. You cannot serve Jesus and Satan. And so then you have to really wrestle with the idea that these outside critiques, right? These people who are attacking, are these really servants of Satan, or are they servants of Christ? And the answer to that question is, of course, they follow Christ. So then what's happening? Well, then the devil is very good at using God's people to discourage each other. And when you realize what really is happening is we're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. That allows you to take the fight to where it really matters, and that is in the spiritual world, and find your identity in Christ and your time with Jesus, and suddenly you're just very comfortable with what God is doing in your life. So the answer to that question is, I absolutely believe that the first step that you take is, even though it may be painful at first, is to realize there's more going on here. There's spiritual warfare. And then there's opportunity, right? Because where God ends up closing doors, he always opens the next opportunity. Yeah, the window. The window.
Climb every mountain.
Yeah. You are the wind beneath my wings.
No, that's That's not Sound of Music.
I'm just
Primary melody,
saying
Sound
that
of
it's
Music.
all like stereotypical.
Isn't that in the Bible that where
Right.
God closes the door, he'll open a window?
Yeah, sure.
That's what the mother said.
I
What's her name?
think
Mother something? Anyway, doesn't matter.
I think that might be in the Apocrypha.
So here's the thing. I think from a distance, the haters didn't hurt me. The ones that I found painful and shocking were the ones that would come from people you love. So years and years ago, I remember I was at the church, and I think the letter actually came to you from someone we highly respected and just deeply loved. Like both of us had been blessed by this couple. We loved their ministry. And I remember I thought, oh, in fact, I think I had just written them a little note just to let them know I love them, a little thank you for something or whatever. And I thought, oh, they must have gotten my note. That was not what happened. I opened it up and I was shocked because it was, scorching. Is that the right word? You didn't read it. Thank goodness. I feel like the Lord gave him a moment of grace because it came to me and I was shocked by it and blown away by the harshness and even a little bit of some rudeness. And I remember I called a dear friend that I could trust, my best friend, and I kind of threw a little bit of tears, a little tenderness, read it to her and got it out. And, we talked it through and I was able to kind of move beyond it. And I remember I did ask you, I was like, hey, were you reaching out to this person about, I thought maybe it was a response to like an invitation to come speak or something. And he's like, no. So I was like, okay, don't worry about it. And I just went and shredded it and let it go. And I think moments like that it's hard because you're like, you love God and you've been walking with him longer than me. How are you not like loving us? What is going on in your heart? And that's a hard question to answer.
Yeah. No, those are truly difficult moments. I think what's important to understand if you do face something like this, I'm remembering the scenario, so that's probably why I'm throwing off a little bit.
Yeah.
For context, there are a lot of people that are listening to this that are members of our church that are new to kind of our church, and you might be like, "What? Who are these people that would hate you?" The answer is our church was part of a denominational context where they did not, where the leaders of that denomination did not like certain things in church, certain instruments. For example, mostly they would only like the piano or the organ. They only allowed their pastors to wear suits, and they were very specific about which Bible version you were allowed to read. And our church, I would dress more casually. Our music was more lively, and I would preach from a different Bible version. And it may be shocking for some of you that are followers of Jesus to get this. I don't mean that sarcastically. Some are listening, they're like, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. But these are very important things to these people. Yeah. And they would be very angry about the fact that one of their churches in their denomination was doing this. So yeah, we lost a lot of friends. And a lot of mentors and people in our lives like that for that reason.
I think I remember thinking, and it was God's grace and talking to my friend who got me there, that I don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
Sometimes people say and do things harshly because maybe they've heard something that's not true. Maybe they are dealing with their own difficult time and it's coming out in this way. It doesn't excuse it. It's wrong. I'm going to be honest. That letter was wrong. But being able to forgive and just say, okay, God, and I think that's where it comes to, not just God, I forgive them, holding up to him, say, all of this, and God, I love you more. And I think that's been the next thing that's been more difficult. We're moving from the circles, from mentors. I think it's been harder seeing people that are dear friends or even sometimes church members that, you will invest in them, you will love them. And you see them grow and you're so close and serving together. And then again, it's same answer. The enemy gets in there.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, suddenly they hate you. They don't want to talk to you. And it's funny because your feelings haven't necessarily changed. You still care for them. You want their family to do well. But sometimes even as you go after them and try to help them or talk to them, it's over. It's like they're done with you. And that's a hard thing too. I think a lot of people in ministry deal with that.
It's a very interesting dynamic to be the individual. And just imagine this, and this is probably you. You know what this is like, to go and walk in the desert or in the forest alone with God, to hear from God, then to be called by God to do something, and then go back to your people and say, this is what God's calling you to do. And then for them year after year to be like, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And then to do the exact same thing and then come back and say, this is what God's calling us to do, and to have them turn on you. So if you've been in ministry for a long time, you may feel like Moses in moments like that. You may feel like an individual who is all through the scripture of, I'm following God in what God is calling me to do right now, but I'm not sure how you're going to receive this. And so don't be surprised. That is part of the process. And what we have been surprised by is how much the calling of Jesus has cost us, and with whom it's cost us over the years. But one of the things that we will not allow it to cost, one cost we are unwilling to pay, is love and joy and peace. And this is what we can't afford. Now, we'll give up sleep. We'll give up friendships.
By the way, if you're leading in ministry, that's one of the ironies, is you won't just have the pain of a relationship, you'll also have the stress of dealing with the church and all the things, because the church isn't like a business. One person leaves, all of a sudden there's all these repercussions. Ripple effects, yeah. So the stress. But I didn't mean to interrupt there.
No, that's okay. I was rambling. I don't remember what I was saying.
I'll close with this. Why would we do it then?
Yeah. Why follow Christ?
Because he's worth it. And that sounds so trite. But the funny thing is, I actually have to sit back and think through the sleepless nights. I have to search for the memories, because during those times, it's amazing as I go to God, how present he is, how every single thing from his word, it's like he is so specific, giving me exactly what I need for that moment, their day, like that daily bread. In those times, it becomes such a sweet memory. It sounds like I'm glossing it over, but I'm really not. I still feel the pain. I still miss people in my life that I'm like, where did you go? We're supposed to be together forever. I miss you. But the pain is what I got from the Lord during that time was so valuable and so precious. And he is so worth it. I go back to our calling. When we were called, I think we both had these moments where we told the Lord, whatever you want, whatever you say, you are the master. And if he's really the master, we're going to follow him regardless of what the cost is.
I'm going to summarize it better myself, which leads us to the moment of grit and grace. Well, that's our ministry name, Josh and Heather. Grit and Grace Ministries. And I want to talk about grit or grace. Which would you like to pick today, grit or grace?
Well,
grit means,
I'm going grit.
Okay, something hard that you've been through lately.
I think going back to what we just talked about, grit, there have been moments where it's really hard, and I have had to come down to, why are we doing this? And then it makes me go back to times with the Lord where we followed him, where he's spoken to us. And it actually gets me more firmly founded in the calling he's given to us, because it's making me consider, is this right? Am I standing in this? So I think that's one of the things that's given me grit in ministry are the difficult times, because it's made me evaluate and go back to that.
Well, then I guess I'm left with grace. And what I'll say is the grace that God has shown me lately is where God takes something away, he gives twofold.
That's good.
And I've seen that over and over in my life. Peter one time said to Jesus, we've left everything for you. And Jesus said, yeah, you have. He doesn't argue the point. He said, no man has left father or mother and child or whatever it is who will not receive so much more in this world and the world to come. That's interesting. And I've definitely seen that in my life, where I've lost a friend, God has given two. Where I've lost servants, helpers, and leaders, God has multiplied.
And if you're sitting there thinking, well, I haven't seen that, there's a real next part coming. There's a new kingdom that he's going to establish. And I can't wait to see all the wonderful things he has for us there.
Scripture and blessing.
Scripture today is from Psalm 30. This is so good, okay? It's Psalm 30, verse 6 and 7. When I was prosperous, I said, nothing can stop me now. So these are the good seasons where everything's rolling. The favor of God is on you like Joseph. But then listen to the next part. Your favor, O Lord, made me as secure as a mountain, remembering that our strength is coming from God. Then you turned away from me and I was shattered. God forbid that we ever think that the blessing, the strength is coming from us rather than him. Because if he turns away, if his blessing is removed, it's over. Yeah. We're broken.
Well, let me end with a blessing over each and every one of you that are listening to this podcast today. May your home be filled with laughter. May your calling be certain. And may your love be wildly faithful. We are Josh and Heather.